Welcome to the Founders Roadmap, the show where we explore the journeys, pivots, and breakthroughs that shape the leaders of tomorrow. I am your host, as always, Morgan, here from RCS. And today we're talking with someone who's honestly just kind of really cool and I love talking to, but he's been ahead of the curve long before the rest of us saw it coming. Our guest, Steve Ferman, a visionary entrepreneur, chief AI officer who's been leading the charge in integrating artificial intelligence into business strategy long before it became a buzzword. From building companies that rethink how technology serves people to advising leaders on navigating digital transformation, Steve is at the forefront of innovation and probably better at making jokes than I think most people. And so we're going to dive in and see how he sees AI reshaping industries and what it means for the next generation of founders, and how to build a business that stays human in an increasingly automated world, which seems impossible to me. So, Steve, welcome, first of all.
Thank you, Morgan.
So, firstly, what drew you into AI in the first place?
Oh my God, it's kind of a long story, but I'll keep it short because I know we only have so much time. But I actually I got certified as an executive business coach through Scaling Up, and I had heard about AI and what it was and what it could do, and I didn't really I dabbled a little here and there, but I didn't really mess with it much. But being a technology person or someone who's been in technology for I'm going to admit this on live for 40 years. It really caught my eye. And what happened was I was at Westchester, PA, and someone came and gave a presentation. It was Chris Daigle from the Chief AI Officer about what AI could do for coaches. And it was all scaling up coaches. It was like a workshop for coaches. And I started like a light bulb went off. Like, wait a minute, you mean I could take like 6 disc reports and a bunch of other information like questionnaires that I had asked the executive team, 6 different people on the executive team that I was about to give a 5 dysfunctions of a team workshop for, and take static data and put it in there, and I could start asking it questions and bringing it to life and getting info out of it that I never could get out of a static document. Phew, brain just like blew up, literally blew up, man. And I started just playing with it more and more. And what I realized first off is that the more curious you are, the better the results are. And that's because if you keep it into hey, I want you to do this. You're an expert copywriter. Okay, great. That's awesome. But what kind of copywriter are you really? Are you an expert copywriter in construction, in marketing? What? So be curious and you can't break it. First thing I learned. That's how I got into it. And I just started using it all the time.
So, it seems like obvious that we would move into roles like chief AI officer, and I'm surprised I don't see more of them now for how much AI is used like within my daily life and the role that I have within sales. But like, what exactly does a chief AI officer do, like on a daily basis?
So a chief AI officer, and there's actually hundreds, if not thousands, and more certification bodies are coming up behind me on top of my golf balls back there, my head. There's my certifications for my chief AI officer roles.
Jokes, I told you.
What's that?
I said, see, he's got jokes. I told you.
I got jokes. Yeah,
He's
that was a
got jokes.
spoiler. Um, what do they do? That's a great question because there's so many different things that a chief AI officer can be. There's chief AI officers that are experts in governance, and they get certified in just governance and ethics. I have a good friend, Christy Purdue, I'll name her, who's an expert in governance and ethics. They can build widgets and agentic models and agents and everything and anything from a chat bot that speaks multiple languages to like I can do avatars that will speak in different languages. So a good example would be the president of United Airlines, last I heard, was doing a weekly voice message to all of his employees. Well, what if he had an avatar speak that of him, speaking that to all of his
Okay.
employees? They could have a bit more impact, but they do everything from strategy, which is what I do, which is I'm more of a AI strategist or an AI practitioner. So I take layman knowledge and I take expertise in AI world and bring them in together into the problem that they're having in the middle and help interpret it for them and understand it for them and lay out using different frameworks like a blueprint on how they can get from where they are to where they want to be and how they can reach their goals. A lot of people don't realize it's not really a tech problem. I was kinda going off script from, what do? They do all kinds of
Yeah.
things, from teaching to implementation to creation to thought partner leadership to, I run an AI leverage collective group to running groups, the community groups to help people and that kind of stuff. Anything and everything that has to do with artificial intelligence, and people have this misconfusion that AI artificial intelligence is ChatGPT or it's
Mhm.
Claude or it's, Copilot or Gemini. It's not. Those are all part and partial of what artificial intelligence really is. I don't know if that answered your question directly, but sorta.
It does, because frequently when I see people talking about sort of leadership with AI, it's like, well, why not just give a CTO or a CIO that
Whoa.
certification? And it's like, well, it's a completely different branch to take the business. But I do want to go back because you just described AI as a thought partner with thought partnership. And what do you mean by that exactly?
So, I'll give you I'll tell you by giving you an example, okay? And this came from Jeff Woods, the AI Driven Leader book, is where I learned this, okay? Um, you can write a prompt that says, in order to write a prompt, you need three main ingredients, a minimum. A role, what's that machine's role? And you gotta think in AI to think like a machine, right? Well, in English typing, but yes. What's the context and what's the output you want? So the role is, I want you to be an expert copywriter in, writing copy for coaches and consultants, okay? And then the next thing you might say to it is, the context is use coaches and consultants that coach low to mid-market size companies. So I'm giving it some context. And I want you to output that in a presentation form, whatever, and it'll do it. Or you could say, tell me who are the top expert copywriters in marketing for coaches, and let it come up and tell you who the top people are. Say list three. Let it tell you who those top three people are, and then say, now, using the collective knowledge and wisdom of these three people, I want you to write me a social media post or write me a blog or write me a story about, that's geared towards coaches of lower mid-market that service that market. And you're going to get a much better, much more verbose prompt because I'm
Right.
not relying on what I know, because what I know is this much compared to what AI knows. Generative AI knows so much more, 40 million books, the whole internet. It knows everything Google knows, all of it. That's
S-
leveraging and thinking like it has a thought partner.
So trying to interpret this a little bit from like layman's terms. I use AI in my everyday life kind of unknowingly, but when I use things like ChatGPT or, when I try to limit it as much as I possibly can. So I use my brain a lot more because if I start going down that path, I get pretty lazy and I try not to. But when you're using it for strategies like that, understanding that some prompts can lead to flawed answers just naturally based on like what's being input, how do you avoid those sorts of things?
Okay, so there's two things. One thing I want to tell you is that AI hallucinates 1,000% because it's trained by humans. Humans are not infallible. In case you haven't figured that out yet, we are not perfect. But I also am a firm believer in 10-80-10. 10% your idea, 80% let AI do all the work, and 10% humanize it. Keep a human in the loop.
Mhm.
And I want to give you something here that maybe you guys can all use. I downloaded ChatGPT to my phone. If you have an account, you could do this. It's free. I then click on a little voice button, and I don't know if you can see this orb show up.
Oh,
Hi, how
yeah.
hey.
Hey there, Steve. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. And yes, I can see a little bit of that orb you're talking about. Looks like a neat little effect. Let me know if there's anything in particular you want to dive into.
Uh, you know, There is. Can you tell Morgan a little bit about my POV, my point of view?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. So, Morgan, just to give you a quick snapshot, Steve's point of view really centers around what he calls AI with intent. Essentially, he's all about integrating AI thoughtfully into businesses, making sure it's aligned with a company's values, governance, and strategy. He's really big on helping mid market companies scale up by using AI not just as a trendy tool, but as a strategic lever that actually makes their operations smoother and more ethical. So, that's kind of the gist of his POV.
So when we had that conversation when I was driving down to Maryland, I think it was like an hour and a half drive too. And I asked you, I gave you some specific instructions. Can you tell me what those instructions were?
Yeah, I remember that chat. You were basically on the mode, and we talked a lot about how you wanted me to keep things pretty concise and focused, especially around refining your point of view. You asked for reminders to keep it tied to your AI with intent theme and to help you really boil down the messaging. So, in a nutshell, you wanted me to be that kind of strategic partner who keeps the conversation focused and aligned with your core themes, even while you were on the road.
Yeah, but didn't I ask you to challenge me and try and find my blind spots?
You absolutely did. And I remember that. You asked me to really play that role of a thought partner who doesn't just nod along, but actually pushes you a bit. So, yeah, you definitely wanted me to poke at those blind spots and challenge your assumptions so we could refine your PO.
Okay, so I stopped it, but I asked it that question because that was a really important piece of using it like a thought partner and having it challenge me to think about stuff I've not already asked her or it or whatever it is, you know? So, but they hallucinate to a point where she didn't forget. She knew exactly what I had asked her, but she left it out. So you
Yeah.
really need to keep a human in the loop to make sure that the output you're getting is the output you want and you're
Yeah.
good for.
That was crazy to bring her on like that. But I know exactly what you mean because sometimes you'll prompt something and then like 5 prompts before, you still want that in there, but they forgot all about it. You're like, "No, no, no, remember when I asked you this? Can you?" And they're like, "Oh, right.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely." So on that note, I guess kind of when with regard to prompt, what's the question that you ask a company before helping them integrate AI?
Oh my God, so many questions. So little time. So I have an AI readiness assessment. There's a short one on my website that just give you an idea of where you stand within AI readiness or not. I have a quadruple the size of one that I send out to people. But I normally ask them a lot of business questions, believe it or not, because I want to know, where you stuck, what processes are holding you back from moving forward in your business. What are your core values? What's your vision, your big, hairy, audacious goal? What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to get to? Because not everyone's going to have the same goal. One person might say, I'm trying to get to a 100% bot company with no employees. Not going to happen. But great. Okay, so at least I know where you're trying to go. Let's see if we can kind of work towards that. Or you might, and I would always recommend that you try and upskill your employees because AI won't take your job, but employees who know AI have a better shot at it.
Yep.
And that's just reality. And, look, we're a humanistic world. And we love the human touch and we love the social meetings. And just you and I joke around when we get on a phone call, and that's all part of it. An AI could do that, but it's not the same. It is just, they just don't have emotion yet. You know what I mean? They can't really
Yeah.
invoke that. So I ask questions about the business. I ask questions to understand what are they trying to achieve? Have they set up standard operating procedures? Do they have governance and usage policies for what's acceptable in their company? Do they have any kind of ethics or governance that they're working under? And have they disseminated this from the executive team down to their employees? And that's really the biggest hurdle before you install the first bit of AI. And I guarantee you, everybody's, all the employees are already using it. They're talking to
Mhm.
their phone. Hey, how you doing? And, I think that needs to be looked at first. That's one of the things in my questionnaire is how many of your employees have AI on their phones and use it? And a
All of
lot of,
them.
all of them, but a lot of
All
them
of
either
them.
yeah, a lot of them won't admit it, or the owner is, head in the sand, doesn't want to know it. I literally had a township, and I won't mention who they are. The town manager flat out told me, I've been trying to avoid AI because I retire in 2 years. And I'm like, he looked at me. He's like, "But after seeing what you just showed me, there's no way I'm going to avoid this." And the town manager was in the room laughing because he's the one that brought me in. He's like, "Yeah, you're just going to throw it all on me." But that's some unfortunate of and indicative at the same time of what's going on right now. There's a lack of adoption because people either don't want to deal with it, they're scared of it, or my employees are going to freak out about it. I think as a company, you need to embrace it and leverage it. It doesn't mean you got to start firing people. Sure, there's some jobs that a bot can do, and you don't need a human for, and it works fine.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of jobs, and I think bringing in AI will have you bring in more people for jobs to watch over the AIs.
Yeah, I agree. And I like using different tools for automations to make my life easier, for
Mhm.
like setting reminder things that genuinely take out a lot of busy work that is unnecessary. But when I mean I don't like to use it like Chat GPT regularly, I don't like thinking I do like can you write this email for me to follow up with someone? Because if I start doing that, then I get super lazy. I'm like, write every email for me. And then I forget how to write a good email back to people.
It's kinda like
Um,
driving. If you use Waze to go everywhere, you
yep.
forget how to get places.
And
So
now I only use Waze to get anywhere. Even though I know how to get home from the office, I still turn it on just to see how long it's going to take. Stupid.
or to see where the cops are so you don't get a ticket. Sometimes
Also,
it's good.
that. Yep, so I can't do that to myself. I know if I go down that path, it's a dark path for me personally because I have an addictive personality. But on that note, I want to ask because you know all the trends, you know everything that's out there when it comes out. So there are a lot of good AI tools and a lot of really terrible AI tools. And is there any like how do you tell the difference between a shiny object kind of AI system and something that's actually worth investing in?
Squirrel. Oh, sorry, shiny up. Man, there's thousands of tools probably being written every day. I explain it like this. When Microsoft Office came out, it was the coolest thing since sliced bread. But if you only need to write letters, why do you have to learn how to use Access to program or PowerPoint or Excel to crunch numbers? If all you're doing is typing letters, learn how to write letters really well in Word. So in the AI world, a lot of them are kind enough to give a free trial or a 7-day trial or 14-day trial.
Mhm.
You got to really play with it. And I tell people to put a sticker on their screen to remind themselves to use AI daily, at least once a day.
Oh, interesting.
You should use if you ever use TikTok or you scroll on any of the social media sites, you'll see this learn AI challenge in 25 days, blah blah blah. That's all well and good, but they're selling you to become part of their class. It's
Right.
simpler by just going into whichever one you use, ChatGPT or Claude, and say, what are the best tools most commonly used right now? It'll tell you. Or you can say, I need to do analytics. Which AI tool or generative AI tool should I use? Or I need to write code. What would you recommend? And the best one to use, because it's totally agnostic to all of them. It's a little biased on a browser. I'll explain that in a second. Is a program called Perplexity. PERPLEXITY or
Okay.
just type PLEX.IT, plex.it, it'll come up. And Perplexity is what I also call the Google killer. It does everything Google does. It searches as much, if not more powerful, the whole web like Google does, but it also searches LLMs and other artificial intelligence products that are out there putting information out. But it gives you the source of where it got the data from, and there's zero advertising, which is the best part.
Oh,
So if like Google, you pay them enough money, they're going to bump you to the top.
right.
Well,
Yeah.
Perplexity could care less. You're going to go to the top if you're the best. Period.
That is awesome.
Right. And there's a whole new, so heads up on this one. You're going to love these SEO people. Love this. There's a whole new thing now. There's GEO and I think DEO, which is data engine optimization. And GEO is, I'm not even sure. But the point is there's different, certain, now people are using the the large language models, Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT as search engines. So now people have to start thinking about your website and having it optimized for the new search engine of the world, which is not Google.
Right.
I mean, it is still always going to be a little bit of Google because it's so embedded, but these AI search engines will search Google as well, but not bring back any of the trash that comes along with it, like the advertising and stuff.
And see, that's something that like a chief AI officer would be working on in tandem with marketing and sales, most likely. And that's not something a CTO would ever have the ability to work through with the team, I
No,
think.
or even have the knowledge or the inkling to think about
Yeah.
that, and that's, you ask, what does a chief AI officer do? Well, we know a lot about what's going on in the industry. I get trained once to twice a week. I used to get trained every day when I was getting certified, but now it's down to once or twice a week. Every Friday we meet with Lee. I love Lee's Friday program because he tells me all the top news that's going on, and we talk and we do celebrations and wins. And it's just a really good hour of, hey, what's really going on in the marketplace right now? What's happening? What's new? So to answer your question, other popular programs, you asked me that question.
Yes. Yes, please.
Some LLM, I prefer chat, to each his own. You might like Gemini. Then again, I use Gemini's or Google's AI Studio because it has Nano Banana in it and it makes really great images. And if any of you go to my LinkedIn posts, look me up, you'll find me. It's simple. You'll see my Nano Banana 250th birthday celebration because I am a Marine. And we just hit 250 years of service of being an entity. Anyway, I did it on Nano Banana, and it took me under 6 minutes to create this, I think, beautiful posted image. And it only took me that long because I had to ask it to change some of the words, take some words out of the picture.
We've gone through one of those before. You were like, watch this. And you took me on your LinkedIn and like showed me how you did a post. And I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. This might be kind of an unanswerable question, but you've got me curious now. So like you do multiple projects really within a company when you bring yourself in as like an AI officer. How do you measure success of the AI adoption with like KPIs? Is it kind of just case by case, really?
It's case by case because everyone's going to have different KPIs depending on what they're
Hmm.
trying to achieve. But that's a really big part of proving our worth by measuring, our success. So if we're doing, let's say, social media posts, okay, what are you at right now? You're getting, 200 impressions a week. Great. So let's try this by adding a persona of you and creating a My Voice GPT that has everything about you. Your top 5 posts that you've ever written are in it. And then when you write a new social media post with another GPT, it references, hey, add in My Voice GPT into this social media post. And now it really expands it a lot more and gives you a better, more meatier post that's written in your voice because they're your posts that it's reading. So it's not cheating, it's your stuff. Edit it, read through it. You're going to get a lot better output. Now, if I bring you up to 5 or 600 a week, well, I think we've made some progress. If that
Hmm.
continues and grows, then we continue to make progress. So you set your metrics based on different things. It might be that you're getting more orders out. Here's a great example. But I didn't even think about this. There's a food company that delivers food in Dubai. I won't mention their name to keep them innocent, keep them out of the picture. They deliver 1,600 meals a day.
Wow.
Guy complaining, he's like, sometimes they're late, they hit traffic, they're not getting orders on time, we're losing clients. I said, this is where Chief AI officer comes in. I said, well, why don't you hook up like a mapping system like a Waze to it so the drivers can route around the traffic and make it there on time? The KPI was 38% more deliveries on time.
Wow.
Just a simple thing to think about, but I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I didn't even go to college. I would spend 5 years in the Marine Corps. You know what I mean? But I guess I'm intelligent enough to think out of the box. I just think in AI, I think, how can it help me? What can it do for me? And that opens up a whole new world.
It's kind of like you come in, you say, like, what's your pain point? You come in to solve one problem, and immediately you're solving all the problems just because it's a tactical way of thinking about creative problem solving?
It's actually deeper than that. I ask a number of questions. I then have them fill out my AI readiness questionnaire. I take all that information, I run it through my GPT and chat, and I have it tell me all their different problems. I have it tell me where they're stuck. I have
Wow. Okay.
what
Cool.
problems are because some of the questions in my questionnaire are things like, "What do you want to start, stop, and keep?" What's your biggest, issue you're having right now as an organization? I don't ask just the CEO. I ask the CEO and the whole executive team. So I take all of their answers. Some align and some don't align. Some match up, some don't match up. But it gives me such a bigger breadth of insight. Here's another great example. I went into a bank. Okay, I won't mention which bank because there's plenty of them, but I went to a smaller boutique kind of a bank, like 17, 20 branches. And they're having problems with their salespeople. The salespeople were, it's an old bank, been around a long time. They weren't going out and talking to the customers. They were sitting behind their desks, like scared to talk to people. They weren't making outbound calls. Hey, did you know that we have credit cards or we have CDs or running a special on whatever? They just weren't being assertive. And I took the information. I had the VP of sales, the branch manager, fill out a questionnaire on what her problems were. I then took it back and I did my mash in my GPT that I wrote, and I had it come up, and it actually wrote me a sales letter that I edited. I keep a human in the loop at all times. It listed out all the problems that it found. I then used all that and I put it into Gamma, which is a great app for presentations. I had to create me a presentation, and I went and had a conversation with her again. I gave her the presentation, gave her the intro letter, obviously, and then the presentation, and then, we had a conversation about how we could get moving forward. But all of that because I'm utilizing AI, I'm leveraging AI.
So, how do you get past those employees or leadership who are skeptical or fearful, or they see this presentation and they're like, we don't have those problems. Actually, like, we're fine.
Well, they think they're fine, but,
Exactly.
only as fine as what you know. But, it's funny, there's another big, scary, hairy monster out there, and that is the fear of adoption. Because people have been or change management, I should say, because people have been around for 20, 25 years. Last
Mhm.
thing they wanna do is change all their processes. Employees especially because they're like, "I don't care what it does for him, I care about my paycheck." Me personally, I think if you have an organization of employees that are all A players and you're all fighting for the same goal of making that company better, bigger, faster, more profitable, then you're all gonna benefit, unless the owners are jerks, but most aren't.
I agree.
So, you should all really work together towards that end goal. It's like RCS, I'll use you guys for an example. I've always admired the way that Jeffrey's run the company and Norman and, everybody I've ever met there from Esther, who I'm still good friends with from years ago, who, got me interested in RCS. But you guys are all fighting for the same fight. For the technicians, we'll call you back and say, "Hey, did everything go out okay? Do you need any more help?" Or, "Hey, here's my cell phone number. Call me if you get stuck." Those are the right kind of people, the right A players you have in an organization. And I believe, ironically, Jeffrey follows the scaling up methodology, so of course he's
Mhm.
doing it right. But yeah, it's tough for a lot of people, but just because you think everything's okay doesn't mean everything's okay.
I
Find out.
agree. We were right before I got on a call with you, we were talking through like how to scale up with our sales numbers and like the team and is getting a coordinator and using like functional AI to scrape leads and do some better lead gen in order to automate it in a way that like we're not working so hard during the day and like burning our eyeballs out and we just have an easier way to work but have the human element of actually speaking with people. So it's the smarter way to work. It's not replacing anyone, it's just assisting and supplementing our work.
Remember, let AI help you. How can you help
Help you.
me, AI? What can you do for me to make my life easier, AI? And then go after it. And it will. It'll shine.
One thing I did wanna cover before I lost it, when you were talking about AI governance and guardrails, Just like briefly, what does good AI governance mean to you? Like, what does it look like besides, don't use it for evil?
I mean, look, we have employee handbooks for a reason, and there are a set of guidelines and rules. Not everybody follows those guidelines and rules, but they should. Being a military person, we had our code, and we followed those rules to the letter because if not, somebody would die. I mean, physically die.
Yeah.
So, they're very important. But I think um, governance and guardrails is setting up the rules of the road for the employees. Here's the rules. It's kind of like you go to play a game, play baseball, but you've never played baseball, or you have a football game, you don't have a scorecard. I mean, it's like how you gonna measure who's winning if you don't have a scorecard, right? A scoreboard up there. Or if you go to play a game of baseball, but you don't know the rules of the game, how are you gonna win at it? How are you gonna be good at it if you don't even know what you're supposed to do? You hit the ball, great, now what? You stand there and you get tagged out. Well, no, you should be running to the first base.
Mhm.
So, guardrails are, giving the organization a set of here's how we're going to operate, here's how we're going to function, here's what's acceptable, here's the main large language model we're going to use because we have a protected repository, so we're not sharing our data with the world, or we have it in our own data center in Azure or in AWS or wherever you stick it. And you can actually build your own large language model and put it on your local PC with Llama. And this way, your data is not going out to the world. It'll go out and fetch data and bring it in, but it won't put your data out anywhere. So governance and ethics and guardrails and standard operating procedures are all about the organization setting the company up or the organization up for success. And right now, people are doing what I call AI sprawl. Shiny tool. Let's use that. Ooh, 11 Labs. What's that to? Suno. Let's make some music. You're going down the line. And I didn't really tell you, I think you would ask me what are the top programs out there, kinda like Word. There's a bunch of them, a lot do the same. A lot of them are really now coming into trying to keep you in their world, like, Perplexity has a new browser called Comet,
Mhm.
and Comet's really cool because you could search using AI within your browser. Gemini, Google's doing it with their Gemini product now. So within Google, you can use AI in your Google search. They're trying to, catch up to the world.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is too, like I said, ask the AI model you use, what are the top tools people are using for blah, whatever industry. And you'll find out quick.
The automation of transcribing meetings in every single, like, meeting app that exists has been just wonderful for me. I don't know who decided we're automating that, but it's been awesome.
I am a Fathom maven. I've been using Fathom for well before I started using AI because I didn't know it was AI. I just
Mhm.
thought it was this really cool recording tool, mainly because I have so many calls, especially since the pandemic. I forget what I talked about, and I
I
got to go
same.
back and look at it.
I gotta put in
Right?
all these notes afterwards or during, and my brain's all
Or
scattered at 25 tabs. I can't.
how do you pay attention in your meeting and have a conversation when you're busy? Wait 1 second.
Yeah, I can't, and then I'm
Hold on a minute,
spelling
and you're
words
typing.
weird. Yeah, no. It's a amazing thing that we've done with that.
Yeah.
If I can give AI any kudos, it's the AI
The note
transcriptions.
the note takers, I call them. There's Read AI, there's Tactic, there's
Mhm.
Fathom. I
Otter.
like Otter, yeah. I like Fathom mainly because of the search feature within, and I'm sure the other ones have it too. But I've got, hundreds of calls. I'm just kind of sticking with Fathom. But you can go in and say, what was the temperature of this call? Was this person truly interested?
Yeah,
Or what are the next to-dos and who's supposed to do them? And it'll help you right out. And I do something else that's pretty cool. I think is pretty cool. I set up a Zapier, which is a connector. It connects
right.
one to another app to take every transcript from every meeting and put it into a Google folder. My CMO, my marketing person, goes into that folder and picks out sales calls, takes those and runs them through Claude. She likes Claude, whatever. Runs them through Claude and finds out where I could have done a better job or where did I not ask for the order or did I ask for another meeting for a phone call? Things to help fine tune my process. And it's also how we ended up figuring out about social posting and how I got so good at doing it because she interviewed me, asked me a bunch of questions from a CMO standpoint. She was a corporate CMO. And then she went ahead and ran it through Claude and had to create like 12 posts. So that month was done, kind of that quick.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But
Um,
leverage the data that you get out of it.
yes, absolutely. That's a smart way. You're giving away all of your best secrets. We're gonna have to stop you so that people can hire you and use them.
Well, I got
Um,
more. Don't worry.
I believe you, yeah. So, kind of in line with what we were just talking about, are there any industries in particular or I don't note taking is not really an industry, but kind of how it's transformed the way we do meetings. Are there any industries or subsets of industry you think are going to change the most because of AI in the next 5, 10 years?
Oh, wow. So
If it's
many.
too broad of a question, you don't have to
Well,
answer
no, no,
it.
no, it's okay, it's okay because now kids are being taught AI in school,
Mhm,
and I'll tell you a little quick story, and this is an important story. My daughters are now 31 and 28, Scarlett and Corinne, okay? When they were 10 and 12, they were in the backup, so you know how many years back ago this was, right? Like, cell phones were still kinda new. They were in the back seat, we picked up 2 friends for a play date, so the 4 of them could hang out. And I'm driving, I don't hear anything. I said, "What are you girls doing?" And my older daughter says, "We're talking." And I said, "Talking? I don't hear anything." And my little baby girl, my little Corinne says, "Dad, we're texting." And I went like, "All right, everybody give me your phones. Give me all your phones right now." I put them on the front seat and I said, "Now have a conversation where you talk to each other like humans." Now this is way before AI. This is, many, many, many 20 years ago, right? And, 20, it's 15 years, whatever, a long time ago. And I thought about it and I wrote a blog called Are We There Yet? Just because you're in the car and you gotta
mhm.
pee. There yet? Are we there yet? So anyway, I wrote this blog and it's probably still out on the web somewhere. Is it right or wrong that in my world, my generation, we had conversations, we wrote letters. We had rotary phones with like, a big giant wheel that threw sparks out when you dialed it. Not everybody had a phone. I mean, you had party lines. I don't take me back real far. But the moral to the story is it right of me as a parent, because I grew up one way, that it's wrong for them the way that they're growing up now? And so now the biggest transformation I see is talk about scared not to use Waze, or you try not to use Waze to see if you can get there, or use AI to write your letters. Well, now kids are being taught AI. How do we bring in the social aspect in them? So my biggest fear is not my kids, but my kids' and their kids
Yeah.
will be brought up in a world where the thinking process is a lot different. And I'm afraid for what they aren't going to be able to do on their own without a machine.
Yeah, I we could talk about this for 3 hours because I have this conversation regularly with people my
Yeah.
age, so I fully understand that. It's also, trying to have anyone younger than me, like, read something or watch something longer than 30 seconds and understanding, like, that's just what they grew up with, the content they have is 15 to 30 seconds long and being like, "Oh
Ugh,
god. Oh,
scroll.
no."
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, I was gonna ask you what scares you most, and that kind of answered it for me. So I have one final question for you, and that is if you could leave business leaders with one action to take after listening, besides hiring you, because that's obvious, what would it be?
Well, I don't know who your audience is. I'm assuming it's managed services providers and some clients, I would imagine. But I would say people should do what they're good at. And if you want to be really good at AI, learn to be really good at AI and be that. If you want to be a managed service provider and provide managed services and provide, equipment or whatever your branch of the MSP world is, then you should do that and work with someone who is certified as an AI officer that can help take that load off. Hiring another human and paying, look, let's be honest, humans are expensive. Not that AI isn't expensive, because AI can make a mistake that will cost you more than a human ever could.
Right.
You know, it all really boils down to use it, don't be afraid of it, and, work with people that are really experts in what your problem is or experts in what you need. And not to sell myself, but, really find somebody. For instance, I'm a fractional CIO as well, and people hire me to make sure
I
they
should
get
have
the right
mentioned that.
product and the right services for the right price. It's how RCS, we really started working together with me bringing you into clients that were getting, quite honestly, screwed by the provider or not serviced by the provider or forgotten by the provider. And I brought you in knowing that you guys actually care. You guys actually, it matters to you what happens to the end user, to the client. So I'd bring you in
Mhm.
that regard. So
And I can vouch for Steve. Steve is amazing. If in case you haven't realized how much I think Steve is awesome. He's great. And I will put all of his information so you have it. You should reach out to him, do the AI assessment. I'll put all the tools that he mentioned also so that you can have a little look, because I also want to have a little look. So we'll make sure everyone gets your information, Steve.
and one thing I did forget to mention, shame on me, upskill your workforce.
Upscale the workforce.
Upskill, SKILL.
Skill.
Upskilling.
Oh.
It's really important that the people in all the departments of your organizations learn how AI will benefit them, and each department is going to be different. This is one of the things I do when I'm doing strategy for a company. We find out with each department what's going on and how can it benefit them in their department. It's going to be different than another department. So upskilling them and how to use it, let's say if you're legal, for the paralegals to use it versus, for research or whatever, versus maybe a lawyer to use it to find out what case studies may have similar, traits that they could use in their presentation in law. So upskilling them is really important. Learning how to utilize it properly is going to make a big difference.
That's great words of wisdom. I think
Yeah,
I
pretty good.
I should just hire you to be my help here because I could definitely use your help.
Let's go.
Let's go. Um, all right, we're closing out at the end here. So that's kind of it for today's episode of the Founders Roadmap. Huge, 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 wonderful thank you to Steve Ferman, the amazing Steve, for sharing his insights on leadership, innovation, and what it really takes to stay ahead in the world driven by AI. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to follow, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to leave a review because it helps other founders find the roadmap they've been looking for. I will make sure everyone gets Steve's information because you should just talk to him anyway. He's a wealth of information and just a cool guy with good jokes, like I said. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time on the Founders Roadmap.
Thank you.